Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. Today, I'm down at the beach to do a catch and cook. But it's going to be slightly different to my usual content. About a week ago, Bluetti sent me one of their new AC240 units to test. So first of all, we're going to have a quick look at that, and then we're going to dive into all things fishing. Make sure you stick around to the end for a free PDF download of today's delicious recipe. You seriously don't want to skip this easy and phenomenally tasty meal. So today, I've brought down some soft plastics, plus, of course, some beach worms. And I'm going to flick a few plastics first, and then start using the worms for bait. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to explain what I'm thinking. I'll show you the plastics that I brought down, I'll show you my rod, my reel, and just explain everything that I'm doing. And if you're enjoying the content and it's helping you with your fishing, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I really appreciate it. Let's get started. So just for context, my wife and I were looking for a decent solar generator that was not only portable, but would also suit the various needs that we have. We have some pretty fun and creative projects that we're currently working on, and it's completely off-grid, hours from civilization. We had already had a chance to try out a friend's hefty Bluetti home backup system, and were really impressed with it. However, we quickly realized that while it would be perfect once everything was fully set up, we really needed a system that was easier to lug around and, most importantly, suited to a constantly changing and often dusty and dirty environment. So we reached out to Bluetti asking them if they had something to suit our needs that we could try out and possibly review for them. Woohoo! We truly weren't expecting anything, but they responded the same day and then quickly shipped us out this new system for free so we could test it out. However, we haven't had it long, so I think it's only fair that I give it a decent run to make sure it does what it says. So in a couple of months' time, I'll do a follow-up video to let you know how it's all going, the pros and cons, etc. It's like Christmas. Okie dokie. Alrighty. Cool. Wipe that over there. It's inside this thing. There you go. Wipe that there. Put that over there. Cool. Alrighty. I'm going to lift this up. A bit of weight in it. Kick that box out of the way. Wow, look at this. I might get rid of the plastic. I can hardly wait to start using this. This is exactly what I've been looking for. Just really helps with all the off-grid stuff that we're doing. Okay, let's fire it up. Okay, so it comes with a little bit of charge. I can see it's got 59%. So I could already plug something in and start using it. First, for some basic specs. The AC240 has a giant 2400 watt output, so it means you can run anything from small devices to large RV appliances, and it handles multiple things at once. We were able to test a bunch of things with a large drawing load, like the electric fry pan we use at the end of this video. We plugged in a few other devices at the same time to put some more pressure on the system and had no worries at all. In the coming months, we'll test it out with a bunch of other different appliances, like our washing machine, and see how it goes. In terms of capacity, the AC240 stores 1.5 kilowatts. If, like us, you need extra power for longer trips off-grid, or for really high-powered devices, you can expand the system with up to 4 B210 expansion batteries. This would take the total to a hefty 10.1 kilowatts. That would keep your fridge, freezer and some lights on for 4 days, maybe even 5. Currently we just have the AC240 unit and 1 B210 battery, and they're perfect for our needs at the moment. In the future, however, we'd like to acquire more batteries for those rainy days when our solar panels don't bring in many watts, and also so that we have emergency power in case of outages, which happens not that infrequently here in Australia and where we live on the New South Wales south coast. It's also great that you can charge the system multiple ways, the most beneficial in my opinion being via solar panels. We connected the AC240 to one of our 6 440 watt panels to see how it performed. In full sun, it was pulling in between 400 and 420 watts, which more than offsets our off-grid power usage. We use on average about 300 watts an hour. This includes our fridge, freezer, laptop, several phones charging, lights on at night, and our Starlink that runs 24/7. At first, one of the things we found a bit tricky was connecting the app to the AC240 unit. After doing a bit of troubleshooting, we realized that we should have sorted it all out before we left home. So make sure that you download the app and set everything up while you have a steady internet connection, and test it offline to make sure it all works. Once it's set up, it connects and performs as it should. The app allows you to do things like check the percentage of power you have remaining and turn things off and on, all from your phone, as long as the Bluetti unit is turned on and connected to your device. If you want to know more about the AC240, there's a link in the description, and if you do end up getting one, please let me know in the comments what you think. Last but not least, the AC240 system is boldly proclaiming to be dust and water resistant, rated IP65. It apparently deals well with dust, dirt, mud, and withstands low pressure water jets from any angle. We have seen people test this out in a few other YouTube videos, but we'll test it out ourselves in the follow-up video. It also boasts protection from sand and the salty sea air, which is a big one if you want to take it to the beach. Or like me, you can use it to cook what you catch. But first things first, let's get into the catching part so that we can get into the cooking part. Okay, for the catching part, today I've chosen this particular spot. I had a look yesterday because I really like the features of this little deep trough right next to the shore. And I'm gonna just have a cast with my plastics. I'll show you what I've got. This is a squidgy wriggler in the bloodworm colour. The size is actually 120 mils, and the jig head is a 1/6 of an ounce and a 1/0 size hook. The reason that I'm using this particular plastic is I'm fishing close to shore in a little trough where I would expect there to be brim. Of course, anything could grab this plastic, but I think it's a good possibility I could get a couple of brim there. And then I know that if I chuck a worm in there, I'm sure I'm going to catch something as well. Just going to head over there now and have a flick. The wind is actually blowing straight on shore, which will hinder my ability to cast, but because I don't need to cast far, in this case, it should be all right. My good mate Laurie's turned up with his wife, and they're dipping a line. So between the three of us, I think we'll do quite well. So I'm just going to see what happens when I chuck this plastic out. I could potentially need a slightly heavier jig head, so I'm not quite sure how turbulent. I mean, it's a little bit turbulent on the shore, but there's a lovely deep little trough just in front of me. So, okay, let's see where that lands. Okay, well, it went far enough out. So I'm just going to give this plastic a couple of little jigs and just let it sink back down to the bottom. It's not that easy in the surf because there's so much water movement out there. It's very different fishing plastics in the surf to in the still water of a lake or river. In fact, I can already tell in that first cast, I may be better off putting on a slightly heavier jig head, but I'll have a few casts anyway. What I find sometimes when I've got a wind, even though it's kind of in my face, if I cast slightly sideways, I can get a little bit more distance. Yeah, that definitely went a lot further out then. It would be great to catch a fish on this plastic. It's always very rewarding and exciting when you catch fish on lures. Oh, I'm on. Oh. What happened then? Oh, I've got Laurie. I've hooked a person. You knew, didn't you? Oh, sorry, buddy. Let me just grab this off here. Oh, that really tricked me then. Whoops, don't want my reel to get in the water. That was funny. Man, I thought I had a bite. But I was too close to Laurie. Oh well, back out again. There's quite a shore dump just here. These waves are coming up with quite a lot of power. It helps when I cast low, actually. Whoa. There must be bream out there. And the old bloodworm is a great colour for bream. I'm going to have 1 or 2 more casts and then I'm going to put a heavier jig head on. Just because it's so much water movement. It helps when I cast that down low like that. All right. Here, fish, fish, fish. Here, fish, fish, fish. Oh, Laurie's got a fish. She got one. Oh, there it is. It's a bream. Yay, it's a bream. So I had a few casts with the soft plastic. I started off with a 1/6 jig head. That was too light. And then I went up to a 1/4 jig head, but it's just way too turbulent today for the soft plastic. So I'm always learning something. Always got to try things. So really I think, depending on the plastics that you're using, calmer weather is definitely better off the beach when you're using soft plastic. So I'm keen actually to do a few more videos off the beach using soft plastics. Really keen to do that actually, because I do enjoy it so much. But I think I'll wait till the conditions calm down a little bit. So now I'm just rigging up with a single hook rig, putting a beach worm on. And so I just grab a hook out of my little bag of tricks, out of my peanut butter container, and I'll go and head down there. Oh look, another big bream. That's pretty cool. I better go and join them. So I just have this is a fairly large long shank hook. It's a size 2.0. But I tend to use them a lot, either 1.0 or 2.0 in the long shank with my worm baits, because I'm always prepared to catch something bigger. And you know what? The whitings still take it, no problem. They swallow it. Or, you know, they don't so much swallow it when the hook's bigger, but they certainly get hooked. Look how big these worms are. They are more like snakes than worms. Huge. Alrighty. I'll whack a couple of them in there. Now the rod I was just using with my soft plastics, it's a really light stick. It's 8 feet long. And I've got a 2,500 size spinning reel. This is loaded with braid. It's actually only got 10-pound braid on it. I use this for squid. It's actually a squid rod, a specific squid fishing rod, but I like it because it's really light and whippy, and it's good off the beach rather than using a shorter rod of about 6 feet with the plastics. This works really well. So that's that one, and I've got a leader on it, a fluorocarbon leader, and you can see my soft plastic and my jig head there. That's the bloodworm coloured soft plastic. So I'm going to lay this guy down. The rod that I'm using with my beach worms is a 10-foot light beach rod. It's rated 4 to 7 kilos. You've probably seen this in other videos. And it's coupled with a 5,000 spinning reel. This particular reel has braid on it because I was potentially going to use some bigger soft plastics and use this setup for that today. But I have a fluorocarbon leader and I've got a single hook rig. I'm not using my standard 2-hook rig. I have a size number 3 star sinker. It's got a little bead in front of it before the swivel to protect the knot. And then I've got my line going down to my single beautiful worm bait. And I'm going to chuck this out. So my friends have actually caught a few fish already. And I was suspecting that there'd be a few bream in this little trough here, and they've landed 3 bream in the last five minutes or so. So I expect that's probably going to happen when I flick this out. Okay. Whoa. Oh, that went right up my leg then. Yeah, I certainly want to come back down here when things calm down with the plastics. I'm really excited about doing that. I noticed yesterday when I was down here having a look around that there was quite a deep trough right on the edge close to shore. The main waves are breaking a long way out the back. There's a big sandbank out the back, but there's some lovely deep water. You can see it undoubtedly. A nice deep bluey green right on the edge. You don't have to cast far at all. If you actually look down the beach in the opposite direction, you can see all the white water and you can see how the waves are breaking out a lot further from shore. You'd have to put in a much longer cast to get out. If you're standing on the shore down there, it'd be a long cast to get out into the green water. Whereas where I am right here, it's just a little flick right at your feet. And there's a nice bit of white water out there. There's some nice action, but some good deep water. So we're still about an hour away from high tide. So as the tide comes in and it fills up even more, the fish will just come right in along this edge because there's plenty of water there looking for food. Got him this time. Okay. Feels like a bream, actually. Now, hang on, no, it might be a salmon. You know, you've got to be really careful landing fish in a shore break like this because it's actually quite violent and there's a lot of drag in the waves. You've got to try and wash the fish up with a wave. In fact, yeah, it's a salmon. Oh, it's swimming up here. Oops. Oh, look at that. What? Oh, there he is there. I nearly trod on the fish. He obviously wasn't hooked very well. But it just goes to show you, because there's so much force when the waves hit here and then wash back down again. You really got to be careful landing fish. So I'll whack a bit more worm on and get it back out there. Felt a little bit like a bream at first because it was knocking its head, but it soon became apparent that it wasn't a bream. Just put some of that on. Really big, fat, juicy worm. All right, I'll whack it back out in the same spot. I'm not casting out very far. Oh, see that? You don't have to cast it out very far here because of this nice deep water close to shore. Gonna give it a little flick. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, here comes a wave. Hey Laurie, I've got braid on this reel. It feels different. It's certainly different to using mono. I just had a bite. I think it's 25 pound. I think I lost my bait. Yeah, I missed that bite. Pretty solid bite, but just didn't connect. It certainly is handy when the deep water's close to shore. Makes fishing a lot easier. Oh man, that has got some weight in it. Wow, that is heavy. My goodness me. When I struck then, gee, I felt some weight in that fish. If it's a salmon, which it could be, it's a big one. I'm going to have to watch out how I land this guy. Oh man, it's got some weight in it. I tell you what, goodness me. Yeah, this is really solid. Hasn't jumped out of the water. What's going on here? Oh, it's pulling line. Hopefully this one's hooked a little bit better than the last one. Goodness. It is fighting hard, really hard. Maybe I foul hooked it. You can see how turbulent this shore break is. Okay, I've got a wave here, so I'm going to bring it up with this wave. It is a beast. I'm going to wait for the next wave actually. It's huge. My goodness. I can't fit my hand around that. Look at that. I've got my hand stretched out. I can't get around it. It is such a solid fish. Oh, actually, I've got it now. Whew. No wonder it pulled so hard. Well, this one's for the table. Grab him again, hold on tight. Fantastic. Okay, let's see what we catch this time. All right, that'll do. You know, most of my beach fishing is with monofilament line. I've got 25-pound braid on this reel, but gee, I noticed it with that salmon. The braid is so rigid, it really feels quite different to the monofilament. The monofilament definitely has a little bit of stretch and give in it. I think I much prefer that because, yeah, it just felt so, a little bit too rigid for me. I'm getting a bite now, actually. I just had a bite. Well, I certainly have a lot of fish flesh in that salmon that I can use for my cook when I get back to the cooking area. Oops, got one. I wasn't expecting a bite then, but it happened really quick. I wasn't out there very long before I got a bite. Now I think this one does feel like a brim as opposed to a salmon. It's a little bit easier to get in. Here comes a wave. Bring him up with the wave. Whoa, I mean, just about got whacked up with that wave then. Yeah, it's a nice brim. Look at that, beautiful. Yeah, that's just a really nice brim. This is going to be delicious on the plate. Okay. Whoa! Oh man, you've got to be so careful of sharp hooks and spikes on fish. You can see the worm in his mouth. Okay, well, I want to get another bait in the water. So I'll just go and look after this guy and then get another bait happening. Okay, so just got that lovely brim. Gonna whack my line out again. What time is it? Still not high tide yet. When I brought that brim in, it just about surfed the wave in. The wave picked it up. Okay, that's about the same spot that I landed before, and I was too busy talking when I got a bite. getting a bite, I think. Thought I had a bite then. Yeah, something's going on. It's coming towards me. I picked it up and swam towards me. Hang on, it's still getting a bite now. I think I've got something small. It's going to pull it in pretty quickly, actually. I'm not going to muck around. Oh no, it's not that small. Another nice sized bream. Not quite as big as the last one, but certainly a beautiful fish and well and truly well over legal. He obviously swam towards me then. Yeah, he'd be about 31 centimetres maybe, I would say. Well, he swallowed the hook, so I'm just going to go and remove him. I was thinking that it looked like a likely spot for bream to me when I was looking at it, and that's proved to be right. You know, the weather's really funny today. It's 1 minute it's sunny, the next minute there's clouds, the next minute it's rain. It's really kind of all over the place. Probably could have cast that a little bit further, but it's still in a pretty good spot. Just had a bite. I'm getting another bite. It feels like a whiting or something. It's not a salmon. Had a couple of... Oh, no way! I just lost everything. I just lost everything. That's strange. I wonder if I lost my leader as well. What's going on? Just winding my line in. Just watching where it is. The wind's blowing it back behind me. And there's my leader. Wow. I was getting some pretty rapid fire bites. It's a clean break. I don't think I'll bother re-rigging because I've got an abundance of fish really. I've got some beautiful bream, some salmon, everything that I need to cook a lovely feed of fish. And my friends also have caught some bream as well, some really nice bream. So let's head back and have our cook. So Laurie and I have filleted the fish, and I'm back at the park ready to start cooking. I've chopped up a few vegetables. I've got a little bit more chopping up to do. And tonight's recipe is a beautiful yellow fish curry, one of my favourites. I've got the fry pan plugged into the Bluetti. I also grabbed my extension battery because we've been charging some equipment and a drone and a few bits and pieces, but I've got plenty of charge, so really happy with that. So now I'm going to get started with the cooking, and I'm actually feeling pretty hungry. So just going to turn this guy on. Yep, just want to get this nice and hot, put a bit of oil in there. And I like to fry off my onion with a bit of garlic and ginger first. So that's what I'm going to do. Put a little bit of oil in there. Okay, I've got some sunflower oil because you can cook at a higher temperature than when you're using olive oil. I mean, olive oil burns. It's probably better for dressings. So I've got my onions, which I've chopped up. Like those little guys in there. They're sizzling beautifully. Look at that. Plenty of heat. That's great. At this time, I'm also going to put in a bit of crushed garlic. I don't often measure things. I just whack a bit in, but just a good teaspoon of garlic in there. It's going to be good for that. And what I did is I chopped the onion up chunky, like you often see when you buy curries. But I've also chopped up some onion really fine as well. I mean, I love onion, but... So I've got some fine onion through the curry as well as the large pieces. Just going to let this sizzle for a minute. Then I'm going to throw the rest of the onion in. Then I've got a bit of ginger as well. Then I'm going to put the curry paste in and just fry that off for a minute. Let all the flavours come out, let the aroma come out of that. So this is cooking really well. At this point I'll grab my other onion, because I've got so much stuff on this thingy. I'm just working on a park bench. Just going to get this fine onion, put that in there as well. This is such a great recipe. Really delicious. All right, I think I'll put a bit of ginger in now. Probably going to put about a heaped teaspoon. I also love ginger, so I'm going to put a chunk of ginger in there. Give this a swirl. Okay, so I'm going to let that fry off just for a fraction longer. Then I'm going to grab my yellow curry powder. I just grab whatever's on special at the supermarket. So I think those onions have just fried off nicely. Because I'm making a reasonably large batch, I'm probably going to use just about the whole jar. You know, I like a bit of flavour. Yellow curry is not overly, it's a very mild curry. So if you don't like things too spicy, a yellow curry is really good. So I am going to use the whole jar because I've actually got quite a lot of fish. So tonight I'm probably feeding about 6 people with this curry. There's Laurie and his wife, obviously myself, my wife, and possibly a couple of other visitors. So you can see now this is, I've basically got the onions with the garlic and ginger and the curry paste. I'm just frying that off in the pan here. It smells really good. You can see pan is going so well. You know, it's amazing that nowadays you can plug in devices like this to portable equipment that draw a fair bit of power, but you can do that with the just with the modern technology. Is amazing. Okie doke. Now the next thing to do is to put the coconut cream. I'm using a couple of tins of actually coconut milk, so I'm going to just pour that in now. Don't want to waste any of that. Then I'll grab the other one. Often when you open coconut milk, it has like you can see it gets like a plug of solid coconut, more like a cream. That's really good for making vegetarian desserts. And you'll find that the milk, the water is underneath it. So I'm going to put that in there. Alrighty. Beautiful. So now I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir. At this point, I'll start adding my vegetables. And essentially what I do when I'm making a fish curry is basically I make a vegetable curry and then I add the fish right at the end because you don't want to cook the fish for too long. So I'll basically completely make the curry with all the vegetables and then I'll just put the fish in with for the last 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and just let it gently simmer with the fish. Okay, now I've got a few vegetables that I've cut up. I've got some carrots. I like to kind of mix up the shapes a little bit. I cut some of the carrots in like just kind of little chunky pieces like that. And then I cut some where you cut a carrot in half and cut it on an angle. That's called peasant style. So I'm going to whack those carrots in there. Usually I see whatever vegetables I've got in the fridge at home. I had some sweet potato. I've cut that up into chunks. So I'm going to put this sweet potato in, there like that. I just want to make sure that that's covered with the sauce. I'm just going to let that simmer away for a little while. Now I've also got some broccoli and cauliflower. I'm just going to break both of them up into just little florets like that. I don't need to put that in just yet. I want to let the sweet potato and carrot simmer for a little while because it takes a little bit longer than the other vegetables. So I'll just wait and let that cook and then I'll add the other vegetables. Actually, at this point, I've got a few other ingredients to add. I've got some fish sauce. Once again, I'm not going to measure it. I never do. It always tastes awesome. I'm just going to, a few decent slurps of fish sauce in there. I think probably that'll be about enough for me. I mean, it's probably about 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. Then I've got with me some brown sugar. So, all right, so I've got this brown sugar. Once again, I'm not going to measure, because what you can do is when you put some of these ingredients in, I'll just put a moderate amount, and then towards the end of the cooking process, just before I put the fish in, I'll test it and taste it to see if it needs a touch more brown sugar. And I will be putting in some fresh lime juice as well. I'm going to let it continue cooking. I think what I might do is, just to speed up the cooking process, obviously it's a good idea to put the lid on the fry pan. So I'm going to whack that on there and let it simmer. It's pretty cool out here today. So now I'm going to add the cauliflower. Just turn that heat up a little bit. I'm going to whack the cauliflower in there because that takes obviously longer to cook than the broccoli. So I'm just going to get that in there, get it in the juices. Let that simmer away for a few minutes. Put the lid back on. I've got two beautiful pieces of salmon here. This is that big salmon that I caught, which I've filleted, I've skinned it, I've taken the bloodline out of it. And I think that I'd like the pieces to be, let's move them out of the way. I don't like to cut the pieces too small. I'm going to cut the pieces of fish, you know, about so big. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That's some classic Australian salmon there. Apparently it's amazing for sashimi. Actually, it's quite a lot of flesh off that fish. This salmon is actually really good. So this fish curry, I'm actually using salmon and brim, two different fish species, but that'll be awesome. I've done that plenty of times before. Don't have to just stick to one fish species. Laurie and Lena have stayed down the beach a little bit longer than me, so they'll be keen to eat when they get back. And this is coming along really nicely. So that's a little stack of salmon. Now I'm going to get some brim. See some lovely fillets of brim there. Actually, that's whiting because we caught a couple of whiting as well. So man, this is going to be a fish curry with several species of fish in it. Okie doke, so it's getting to that point now of adding the fish. These vegetables have been simmering nicely for a while. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. So look, I've got these beautiful chunks of fish that I've cut up. This is actually not all of the fish that we caught because we got a lot of meat off those fish. Now I'm just going to gently fold, just let this, get the fish pieces under the sauce. Just going to give them a little bit of a poke. Going to whack that lid back on. We're actually starting to run out of light. It's getting late in the afternoon. It's getting dark so early now. But hopefully Laurie will be here in a second to enjoy this beautiful meal that we've prepared. So now I'm going to put this broccoli in as well. I don't like to overcook the broccoli. I like to keep my greens, I don't want them to be all mushy and soft. So I'm just going to put this lid on for a couple more minutes. That fish is already looking amazing. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to have a sneak taste before Laurie gets here. A couple of green. If you love your veggies, this sort of curry is fantastic. I'll get a little bit of juice. Then I'm going to whack a bit of yogurt on the top. And I love coriander. I'll put heaps on there. Not everybody likes coriander, but I do. I love it. I love Asian food. So get a bit of that yogurt with some fish. See, I've got a bit of fish and some broccoli on this little spoonful. That's fantastic. If you'd like to try this recipe, hit the link in the corner or in the description below for your free PDF download. And don't forget to tell me in the comments if you've tried it and what you think. This is so delicious, so fresh. I mean, I love my vegetables as well, so that's why I put plenty of veggies in there. And you can use whatever's in your fridge. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you really soon.